you are. I want to Good morning, good afternoon, wherever you are. Thank you for joining this very important conversation. And my name is Larry Curley. I'm the Executive Director of the National Indian Council on Aging. As it is with any organization, Indian meeting, there's always a beginning with a prayer. So I will offer a prayer to bless this meeting, and I will do it in my native language, which is Navajo. Alane no sancho mayadihil, Shija, Kondati Shingo, Hinane, Kadoki, Il Nada will know. It's under Dahodil, Ensign, Eyakadona, Oshkan, or Dishna. Yat a Yaniki, the never done the Katobakane cow, Yat Ensign, what Anna Oshkan, or Dishna. Ashi Anishi, or when she ended by Hens and decode. Oh, Hilyaki by Hens and decode. She can't lend in Nahal by Henson. Hala put up. I need that Kagi. He can't not walk, don't he can't not jaw yat. I put I by Henson, though yat ill, she ain't not the any car dolly. Hajana sling. That's the end of the prayer. And now I'd like to introduce Edie Yao, who is with the Alzheimer's Association, and I'll have her introduce herself as well. Thank you. All yours.
Thank you, Larry. Thank you so much for the prayer. Welcome, everyone. My name is Edie Yao. I'm with the Alzheimer's Association, Director of Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion Engagement. And we're so pleased to partner with National Indian Council on Aging for the second of our series of webinars, education, really designed for families and anyone who has concerns about dementia and Alzheimer's. So thank you for joining us. Today's webinar is on effective communication strategies. The presentation is recorded. It will be shared back to all of our participants. So don't worry about taking notes. You can re-watch this. We'll send it to you after it's recorded. And what else do I need to tell you? I believe that's it. And now I'll introduce our speaker, Valerie Tsosie, a volunteer community educator with the Alzheimer's Association. She's done a tremendous amount of work with various chapters, and particularly in Navajo Nation. And so with that, thank you, Valerie, and I will turn it over to you.
Thank you, Edie, Larry. Just to let you know, I don't see the share, so hopefully you were able to bring up the slides. Oh, perfect. All right. Wow, we have a really amazing class today. I appreciate it. You're getting some learning today. Valerie Tsosie and I come from the Navajo tribe, and just thankful for everybody wanting to come and learn a little bit more about effective communication strategies. So by the end of today, you should be able to explain the communication changes that take place through the course of the disease, decode the verbal and behavioral messages delivered by someone with dementia, and respond in ways that are helpful to the person. Identify strategies to connect and communicate at each stage of the disease. Next slide. So we're going to start off with a quiz, pop quiz. Make sure you guys are alive out there. So if you guys go ahead and put in the chat, true or false? Communication is a combination of body language, tone of voice, and word use. All right, I see some people already. Nice, good job, guys. Thank you for participating. And we shall say the answer is true. And I believe everything that I saw had true there. So good job. You guys are ahead of the game. The largest percentage of communication is through body language. You think you'll be through talking, right? Through body language, the tone of your voice, Is it high? Is it low? Are you yelling? Are you whispering? And last, it's finally the words that are coming out of your mouth, right? Isn't that a little bit weird for communication sometimes? So that's why we kind of go through that. Next slide. So what is communication? We have a little bit of a word cloud here, and these are just what communication are, right? We said body language, listening, making decisions, words, facial expressions. Are you coming in and, do you have that resting face, they call it, right? So are you smiling? Are you sad? Are you mad? Receiving messages, tone of voice again. Are you whispering? Are you yelling? Are you, how's that kind of coming off of you as well, sending those messages? Next slide. So we have our communication throughout the disease. We have 3 stages, which is early stage, middle stage, and late stage. We also have a training on this as well to go a little bit more in detail, but we're going to go ahead and have you're going to have different types of communication in early stage, which is convey thoughts and feelings through language. You're able to make decisions about future care, and you may interpret what others say. So this is the early stage. Things are going to still be okay. They're going to know, they're going to be able to talk to you, and you're still going to have a pretty good communication with your person. In the middle stage, you're going to have to use basic words and sentences, rely more on the tone of voice, the facial expressions, right? Or sad, and body language. So you coming in with your fists up, how are you standing? Are you standing like this all the time? What does that make you think of? The doormaids, somebody's mad at you. Your hands are on your hips. Are you coming in just down and relaxed? Are you coming in the room? Maybe you're blazing in because you want to get stuff done, everybody knows that feeling. So again, in the middle stage, that's what you're going to more rely on is, again, the tone of voice, the facial expression, and the body language. And you'll have that continued need of emotional connection and meaningful activity. I feel like this one for natives is definitely hard, not just Navajo. We're not very, I know for me for sure, and maybe others, it's going to be okay, but it's very rare. I know that there's some grandmas and grandpas, the elders that are very caring in the way of how they express themselves, where they will like to hug or they say, "Shawe," come here, my baby, and they'll be very soft and tender. But there's also other elders who are very rigid, and that's not normal for them. It's more at a certain time or place. They feel more comfortable with hugging and kind of showing that type of affection. But either or, it's, there's still that need for that communication, and you'll have to learn to change those and add those in, because before your person would normally incorporate, right? They would tell you, or you would be at that moment, and then that tender time would happen, that emotional connection would happen. But now with the disease, you would probably have to bring that in. Exactly. We have the tough love. That's exactly, you have the tough love in there. And then we have the late stage. They may still respond to familiar words, phrases, or songs. They'll use body language and the 5 senses to connect. So again, five, sorry about that. The 5 senses, right? Which is your eyes, nose, taste, hearing, and then feeling. So they'll need those 5 senses to connect. And I unfortunately cannot see continue the need of emotional connection. Again, that tough love, right? There's these certain moments, but you yourself you have to incorporate that with them and for them to maintain that connection, because it's so important. And things change, especially with the disease. So just keep that in mind. Next slide. So some changes you may notice is going to include difficulty finding the right words. So in that, I think sometimes because we are bilingual and our persons right now with the disease are bilingual as well, I feel like we already do this. I know that when in my family at times we'll say off the light, and that's normal for us. So I don't know, for us it's like in Navajo, difficulty finding that word for off, right? And we're having this bilingual thing. Even those times it's okay. But just remember that you're looking at when it gets increasingly, is it more? Do you find that you're doing that more with your person? Taking longer to speak or respond. This one is a very, very important. So the same way that you talk to kids, right? When you're talking to the kids, you have to take your time, right? They're trying to process and figure out what you're trying to say. Average time that you talk to a child is 20 seconds for them to respond. That's the same response you want to give to your person. Again, this is the disease. So in their mind, they're trying to process this in their mind just like a child would. And they need that time to respond. So as adults, we're always saying, Tilo, hurry up, come on, blah, 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 we got stuff to do. Again, the disease. Make sure that you're giving them time to respond. So when you're asking them something, wait a while, and this might be more difficult, especially if you're busy or trying to get things done, but keep that in mind that it's not going to help you or your person. Withdrawing from the conversations. This one is a huge sign that I had seen in my community and family. I started to notice that, as we were all talking as we normally do, right, at a gathering, and we're adding in, we're laughing, we're bringing things forward, that nothing, I was noticing that, the family member was just kind of sitting there and not a real smile or that fake smile, right? Sometimes you know that and you're just kind of like, then they just kind of look down again. And then everybody laughs and they just kind of look around, then they just kind of like stop and they're kind of in their own world. That's withdrawing from the conversation. They're not trying to contribute, especially when you are noticing exactly the blank stare. You're noticing that's going to be a huge one, especially if your person is normally talkative or laughs a lot or contributes most of the time. Now, if they're already a quiet person and they're not very loud or like that, then of course that won't be a sign. But like I said, in my community and with family members, I noticed that because they were that type of person. And then you have struggling with decision making or problem solving. This one would be another one where you're decision making. Where do you want to eat? That's right already. I think a lot of times you don't even really know, but now it's going to be worse. Where should I go next? What's that in the recipe? How about problem solving? What's the tip? What is, maybe you're down at the flea market. Okay, that's $10, that's $5, that's $2, and then $1 for each cookie, I'll get 5 cookies. You should kind of put that together, right? And they're having that problem, have to solve those problems. So just kind of thinking about those things. Some things to notice, again, if your person's not a loud person, you're not going to notice that withdrawal, but you're going to notice some of these other things that you need to be looking for cues for. Next. So to connect, ask directly how to help with communication. I would do this with my mom a lot. And for everybody who, again, we're all bilingual. My first language was Navajo as well. My mom was Navajo all the way up until she was, I believe she said 10 years old, and they hauled her off to boarding school, right? And now they have to learn English. So I would ask her directly. She wasn't really great at responding, but when I would start talking to her Navajo, perfect. I knew it because already she would tell me that a lot of the times. You know, tell me in Navajo, say it in Navajo. She would always say that to me throughout my life. So I knew already that if I spoke to her, that she was more responsive. So for those, that speak your own language, that will probably be more a better communication value for yourself. And then if not, maybe you can talk to them. Is there sign language? Is there certain ways that you would normally communicate, with mom, dad, your family member? Keep sentences clear and straightforward. I know as women, sometimes we can just go on and on and on, right? Like, oh, turn on that light. It has the soft light, has the fan. Turn on the fan with that light, dim it a little bit, now we have all these different chapters. If you start putting all of those together, what did I just say? I think I said like maybe 4 or 5 things just about turning on the light. If you have something like that, keep it very straightforward. Can you please turn on the light? That's it. Just very simple, straightforward. Don't start talking about the fan. Don't start talking about the dim lights and all of that, because then you're going to start confusing the person. Leave plenty of time for conversation. Again, I think the mindset, and I don't like saying this, but that's only by comparison, right? When you're talking to a child, again, do you just start kind of going off on all of these things, right? You can't, because you know that they're not going to get it. And, it's going to be just, you got to make sure that you bring that down and just have time for conversation. And the thing too is maybe have them. It's really good once you get them on that niche, right? Get them on that thing. Maybe like, oh, do you remember when we went to St. Louis to Disneyland, when we went camping, something like that. So when you have them and have them start talking and just listen to the stories, 10 out of 10, you're going to hear some things that maybe you haven't heard before, or have those, nice memories. It's really nice. Include the person in the conversation. Oh, I already had that one. Okay. And then avoid making assumptions. This one can be hard. Again, if you're hurrying, right? So just avoid those assumptions and have those direct questions and speak directly to the person, and don't overwhelm them with so many questions at one time, just firing it off. I always just think of like maybe speaking to my 3-year-old or my 5-year-old. Again, it's because of the disease eating the brain. You have to just remember that part. And you yourself have to learn yourself even to communicate in that way and recognize those signs. Communicate with the person the most comfortable way. On the phone, email, in person. I know a lot of times it's in person and it's a little bit harder with COVID, but talk to them in the way that they're most comfortable. Laugh together. Know that with Alzheimer's, you can still have a productive life. It's going to be the long game. You're not going to, we always hear that sometimes when somebody gets diagnosed. Okay, get ready. Get ready for what? You're not the person isn't going to pass in a week, a month, even a year. Again, average for a person that has Alzheimer's or dementia is 6 to 20 years. So this is the long game, and you just have to learn how to communicate differently with your person. Be honest, laugh together. You know, those are the type of things to go forward on. Increase, so changes you might notice would include increased difficulty in finding the right word. Oh, are we going backwards? Or I thought I saw that one already. Okay, sorry about that. So just using familiar words repeatedly. Again, if you need to use your language, that will probably most likely be the best, and you can test that out if it is. Inventing new words to describe familiar things. Easily losing train of thought. Speaking less frequently because they can't find those words, so they're getting quieter. Communicating through behavior rather than words more often, maybe having a temper tantrum, being upset, hearing them huff. You know, I would notice that too in my community, is where you know when they're upset, or they would grunt. But I know the big one was, you know, like that. And you're like, oh, okay, what's wrong? You know, and you try to investigate. So notice those type of behaviors. And then consult a doctor when you notice major or sudden changes. This is when you have to, again, be your own advocate and be the advocate for your person. Have those notes, because the doctor, sometimes you want to go in and say there's an issue here. And when you talk with them, they're going to say, oh, that's normal, or I wouldn't be worried, or well, how often has that happened? That's going to be the big one. So if you have your notes and you say, I just noticed that she hasn't been speaking very much. Okay, for how long? Whenever she's trying to tell me to do something, like when she's talking and then she'll just stop. And then I'll say, okay, so what happened? And then she just says, I don't know. And she just lost her train of thought. How often does that happen? She would always say, you know, certain things, and now you're switching it again. That's where, you know, being careful on that one. So just looking for those. So then when you're going to the doctor, you can say, listen, this is what I have here, and this is how long it's been happening. And I'm getting worried, because you should know, right, as a caregiver, what your person normally does and doesn't do. So when you have those, when you go to the doctor, it's very important. Yeah. Thanks. To connect, approach the person gently. Again, you can tell, right? If there was a fight before, when you go into a room, like a heated fight, and you feel that kind of electricity in the air, there's something there. Or maybe you're chilling out in your room or living room, you're just watching TV, and next thing you know, whoever comes in just busts through the door and maybe starts getting mad, or, you know, talking about an exciting thing, and you're just like, whoa, you can feel that. So in that, just know that the person with Alzheimer's or dementia have that part of them is very heightened. So whenever you're approaching your person, always approach them from the front so that they can see you. And then they always say that to say who you are, like announce yourself, right? I always think of like a long time ago with the kings and queens, when they would have somebody by the door and they'll say, you know, so and so is coming in and they're from Windrock. So you kind of have to think about it that way, and just say, hey mom, it's me, Val, you know, or whatever, and make sure that they know, because with the disease, that just the communication part of it is, that's what's going to help you, because they end up losing their peripheral vision. This part of their eyesight actually starts to get affected. Maintain eye contact and get it to eye level if seated or reclining. So you want to, you know, don't stand above them, and maybe they're sitting down, don't tower over them. Have a seat right there, you know, sit with them and start to talk to them. Avoid criticizing, correcting, and arguing. We're definitely going to be going over this one a little bit more. Pay attention to your tone. Again, are you yelling? Are you screaming? Are you angry? Are you whispering? Pay attention to those. And it's very difficult, because like, I know that some of our elders are losing their hearing, and then we have the dang mask, right? And then I know I do that. I yell more when I have my mask on because I want the person to hear. And then it's worse when you're talking to an older person. So just keep those type of things in mind. Take your time. You really have to slow down. And I know for people who, all of us are guilty of that. We want to hurry, we want to go. You probably have to get prep time, because if you don't take your time, if you keep asking that person and just throwing it at them, and again, you're running around, right? Maybe that person's just chilled out there and then you're running around, and how would that make you feel? So just keep those, that type of body language in mind. Next. To connect, join the person's reality. Keep respect and empathy in your mind then. What does empathy mean, right? So empathy means to have that kindness and be thoughtful of the other person, assess the person's needs. Again, communicating differently, if they're grunting or breathing or having their head down, like if they're upset or anything like that, or maybe they're ashamed, those type of cues you want to look out for. Let the person know you hear his or her concerns, whether if they're expressed through words, behavior, or both. Provide a brief answer. Respond to the emotions behind the statement. I'm going to tell you a big one here. A lot of times, and this is if they have dementia or not, I hear this a lot. Grandma, my mom said that I stole their purse. I stole their jewelry. That they're missing something, that something got stolen, right? And then first shot is you, and they want to pinpoint you. You took it. Audrey, you hid it from me, you put it somewhere, and you will start an argument. I can't find my purse. Where's my purse at? And then they get really upset. Don't start yelling at them and getting upset with them and try to reason with them. Go in that person's reality. Remember that it's the disease. It's not them. They're not rational. So with the disease, they just forgot wherever they had put their purse. So instead of getting upset and everything, one thing you should do is, oh, really? I'm sorry, Mom. Where? What happened? Okay. And let them talk to you and then say, let me help you find it. Let me help you find it. And most of the time, you would probably know where they put things, or start to find out where their hiding spots are, right? Or where they left it. So go there and say, okay, let's go look for it. And then help them. Okay, let's get this. So you're aiding them on. And yes, they're accusing you and they're upset and stuff like that. But just remember, that's the disease. So just say, okay, let me help you, Mom. Let me help you, Grandma. Here it is. Okay, nah. And don't be spiteful either, where it's like, I knew you had it, or next time you should put it over here. They can't, because of the disease. Remember, they're losing pieces of their brain and their brain is shrinking. So keep that in mind. It can be very hard, especially if your person can get mean. They can get mean too, but always keep that in mind and be that better person for your person. Next. To connect, keep it slow and basic again, using short sentences and basic words. Speak slowly and clearly, one person and one question at a time. So if you're in a rush, probably not a real good time to start, talking a lot or anything like that. Have that time. Limit distractions. So if the radio's on, the TV's on, your phone is binging and beeping, you want to get rid of those distractions and have that one-on-one. I noticed that with my person is when I would drive, we end up turning off the radio. So keeping that off, because that's a distraction. Just too much things that were going on. So just kind of remember those ones. Be patient. This can be another learning experience. Be patient and with not just with your person, but with yourself. Because you're learning about this now, right? You have to learn how to communicate. Things have to be different. So don't be so upset and aggressive with yourself as well, but also to your person. You're both learning. So have that compassion and empathy for yourself as well. Offer a guess or fill in words if accessible, right? So if we say off the, and they can't think of it, maybe they're going like this, you say light, and then most of the time you might laugh or say yeah or yada, whatever, right? But if you kind of know that, then go ahead and offer that fill in for the word, and then they'll say okay, next. To connect, give multiple cues, provide visual cues and gestures. Again, you go like this, right? Pointing to the light, or you're going like this, maybe to the avoid sudden movements. Gosh, again, being patient and not trying to take off, or whatever. That's maybe something you need to work on if you're that type of person, or remember just not to be jumping around your person. Write things down for the person, pen and paper, something there, post-it notes, put answers in your questions. We're going to go over this again too, so I don't want to get there right now. Repeat as needed, but don't be saying repeat as needed, repeat as needed, repeat as needed. How many seconds did I even allow for myself to even say repeat as needed? And then look at my voice too, like going fast again. Give that person time. Repeat as needed, and give them again 20 seconds is the average that for them to process. Then if they spend a little while longer and you say, oh, okay, repeat as needed. And again, just bringing it up again. But you don't have to do it in an aggressive manner or so close right after another. Give some time and then ask again. Turn negatives into positives. Avoid quizzing. That one is a big one. But we are going to be going on that to the next slide, I believe. To just remember again to respond empathetically and reassure. Join the person's reality. Provide reassurance that you hear and understand. Focus on the feelings, not the facts. Validate and redirect the person if necessary. A big one that I've heard recently. My person, let's see, it was my dad. So my dad noticed that it was getting bad. He can't drive anymore. They had to hide the keys. And but his thing was, right, to go around it. I can't find my keys. Where's my keys? And he said, oh, what's going on, Dad? I can't find my keys. Oh, what are you doing? Where are you trying to go? I gotta go to work. Mind you, he hasn't been to work for maybe 10, 20 years. But again, with the disease, I gotta go to work. Okay, and then you say, Dad, it's Saturday. Dad, it's Sunday. I thought you took leave. Again, you're being empathetic. You're noticing why he's upset. And then redirect him. Hey, it might be Monday, but it makes no use to fight with them, argue with them, reason with them, because again, their brain is shrinking. They're losing pieces of their brain. That part of their brain is not there. And then you're going to start this whole fight and everything. They're not going to remember. So remember those, you have to remember that for yourself. So don't start arguing with them. Just, hey, oh, Dad, it's Saturday. You're crazy. No. And then another thing was Dad would say, he'll start walking around, or you start noticing pacing, and then he'll say, what are you doing, Dad? Or he'll start packing. He'll start putting stuff in the truck. I got to go to a ceremony. I got to go to a ceremony. And you're like, oh, okay. Is that for who? You know, maybe say something, and they might say, you know, it's for so and so. Oh, I thought we said that we are going there tomorrow. Remember, I'm going with you tomorrow. We're not going to go today. We can't make it today. Remember, we're going tomorrow though. And then they're going to say, oh, okay. You lessen them down too, right? Again, redirect them. Just go with their reality. There's no ceremony, you know that. Maybe it's a summer ceremony and it's winter, or vice versa. But just go along with what they're saying, because you're not going to do anybody any favors to start arguing and trying to reason with them. They're not going to remember. Okay? Changes might include communicating. Communication is reduced to a few words or sound. Again, maybe they'll start doing this for the light, or if they say you good, you know, you can start doing hand signals. I feel like we're doing that with the mask already a little bit. Possible responses to familiar words or phrases. Again, you might have to start some of these too, like, mom, are you okay? You know, put your thumb up like this, you know, put your thumb down if not, or, you know, just kind of showing them, so you know that you know how to communicate with them. Listen for expressions of pain and response promptly. So a lot of times you see that face, like, and then that, right, the noise, they'll suck their teeth, ah, ouch, or they'll wince, they might jump. So just remember, remember that as well. Help the person feel safe and happy. Again, this part is, I think, if you're in a rush, that can be hard sometimes. So you do have to learn how to slow down and talk with them, and I'm hoping that you're happy and you're not upset. And if you are upset or something, maybe step away and deal with it over there, because now you're just going to add it on to your person if something happens. Continue to bring respect to each other's conversation. This is the reason why I don't really like to compare saying a chinna or with kids, is because your parent isn't a kid, and it's not very respectful to say that to them. I know from my perspective. They're an older person, they're an elder, they have lived their life, a long life. So I don't like to make that comparison. However, in the context, for you to understand, that's why I bring that in, just to help you understand. And then keep talking, have them talk. I think the best part of this is there might be a lot of stories that you didn't hear or you didn't remember, and it's always good to hear from your person. Use all 5 senses to communicate. Next. Talking about the 5 senses, connecting through touch. This again might be something that you're gonna have to incorporate, and that's fine. Feeling different fabrics. So right now I have like a fuzzy sweater on, and maybe that might be something, a black blanket, Pendleton. Oh, I love those fuzzy native blankets. Those are really nice too, just to feel that. Identify shapes by touch, giving lotion hand massage. I think this one's amazing. So you can just put a little bit of lotion and just grab their hand and just massage their hand. And that can be great now, because it's winter time. You can also add a little bit of lavender, essential oils. So the lavender is calming, and it's good when you're sleeping or you want to relax. And you don't have to use very much either. You only use 1 or 2 drops. It's not to put a whole bunch on there. It's just 1 or 2 drops. And then again, you just massage their hand, or have that out, put it on their wrist, or like right here on their around their neck by their ear. Just a little dab. You don't have to put very much. Identify everyday items in a bag by touch. Visiting with animals. I know when we had the baby sheep, oh man, grandma would love it. And they run around, you know, the lissies, the little goats, they're so cute. Or going out to the corral if you guys have animals, you know, looking at the horses, stuff like that. Sculpting using non-toxic materials, maybe going back to crafting. If they knit, or you can even do the hand knitting type of thing, doing that type of stuff. Holding the person's hand or stroking them, their arm, their back, and just kind of just comforting. You don't have to get aggressive, just nice comforting. And I love if you would brush their hair. Doesn't you know how that feels good? And you just kind of do something like that for your person. Next. Laminate brightly colored pictures to look at together. So these are just another thing. This is the site. Watching videos of animals. Who loves cat videos? You can watch some of those. Nature videos, travel videos. Look at photo albums together. You know, reminiscing on stuff. View photos of famous paintings. Settings, go bird watching. Again, visit the aquarium or go to the zoo. Paint with watercolors. Going outdoors is always good, or sitting by the window together. Okay. Sounds. I always say, they say there's musical therapy. I say on Navajo we have KTNN 660, right? This is a big one. That same song I heard when I was like maybe 5 is still the #1 hit today. If I turn it on, I hear it at least once, I would say, and sometimes 3 times a day. So imagine those same songs that, you know, your person is familiar with, State Line, I don't know, all these other things that they have, Elvis, you know, that type of stuff. So listening to those familiar music, recordings, musical instruments, maybe they play the flute or guitar or piano. Um, Again, listening to songs or speeches. We have YouTube now. Look for that as a resource. Read books, poetry, newspaper articles, and let the person hear the gentle tone of your voice singing. Oh man, I love if they know a song, sing with them. If you have something, you know, even so doesn't, right? Your prayers, stories right now with winter here, you can tell those stories. Those are always going to be good, and having that soothing sound. Okay. Through smell, making small plastic bags containing items such as herbs and spices, again, the essential oils, stuff like that, just so that they can smell them. Use fragrant lotions for hand massages. Now this one, I'll just give you a little warning. So if they have sensitive hands, you don't want to use a lot of that fragrant lotion. You can use regular lotion, but if you use the essential oils, those are natural. Just make sure you're looking at the label. And again, you don't have to use very much, just enough. But I know a lot of times the older folks will say too, like, yosh one, you know, that stinks. I don't like it. So keep that in mind as well if you know your person. Cook and feed the person food that smells good, you know, apple pie, chicken soup, maybe something with seasoning. But again, I know some of our older folks don't like that, but they might know the smell of ribs, right? Now that's a good smell. Next. Connecting through taste, favorite foods. So we have a cupcake there, but what do we have? We have blue corn mush. We have the Three Sisters soups. We have mutton, you know, maybe moose meat or deer meat. Something that can be a little bit not, I feel like not a lot of fry bread. Monitor your fry bread, but like tortillas and foods that they're familiar with, it they can taste good. So that can help. It's con the, you know, some of those traditional foods. Next. Join the person in reality. Again, step into their world and then go ahead and redirect. Understand and accept what you can and cannot change. I feel like with yourself, I'm talking to you, caregiver. There's some things that you can change and there's some things you can't. So also be very compassionate with yourself. Give yourself some time as well, because this can be a very it's a very tough subject, and it's a very tough disease at times. So keep that in mind. Demonstrate and respect and connect through feelings. Always treat the person as an adult he or she is. Try to decode the person's communication, recognize the effects of moods and actions, try to understand the source of reactions. So again, you have to be an investigator at those times, and help me the needs while soothing and calming the person. How are you talking? If you're upset, are you going to be able to calm them down? You know, but keep that in mind. Next. So we have some of our examples here of do's and don'ts. So don't reason. The patient. What doctor's appointment? There's nothing wrong with me, right? And then you would say, don't do this, please. You've been seeing the doctor every 3 months for the last 2 years. It's written on the calendar. I told you yesterday and this morning. That's not a great way to communicate, right? Remember? They've lost that part of their brain, so that's how you're just going to start an argument. What you want to do is, it's just a regular checkup. I'm sorry if I forgot to tell you. Okay, you know, and then again, they don't know. It's just that part of the disease that's getting to their brain. Next. And then another one here, the patient. Joe hasn't called for a long time. I hope he's okay. Please do not respond this way. Joe called yesterday and I talked with him for 15 minutes. You talked to him for 15 minutes. We know that in reality, right? But the patient doesn't know that. So what you could say is, you really like talking with him, don't you? And then you can distract them and say, let's call him when we get back from our walk. Now, are you really gonna call or not? Did they forget? You never know. How long is your walk? By the time you did your walk, they might have forgot. And even if they didn't, would that really be that bad, is to have your person call them? See? Just diffuse the situation. Again, it's the disease. It's their brain shrinking. Next. Don't argue. Again, the patient will say, I didn't write this check for $500. Someone at the bank is forging my signature. This is how you start an argument. What? Don't be silly. The bank wouldn't forge your signature. They don't do that. That's against the law. Blah, 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 right? Do not do that. Again, it's part of that. They just didn't remember. Respond with feelings. That's a scary thought. Oh no, you know, something like that. You're agreeing with how they feel. Reassure them. I'll make sure that they don't do that. I'll call them. I'll call them in an hour. Okay, let me finish this. I'll let them know. You're just reassuring them. Distract them. Would you help me fold the towels while we wait, or something like that? Would you like some water? I know. Do you want to write some notes? Just something to divert them off of what has happened, because again, they don't remember. So if you're just going to argue, this doesn't help anybody. Just redirect them and they're going to forget. So just, you know, again, you're learning how to communicate that way now too, so that you're not going to have that for yourself. Next. We're almost at the, or I believe we're at the end here. Just a reminder that we have our Alzheimer's Association 24/7 helpline, the 1-800-272-3900, 24/7, meaning at midnight, 3 a.m., 2 a.m., Saturday, Sunday. We're always here to help with any type of counseling. If you want some more information, you can always go online at alz.org.
Thank you so much, Valerie. That was wonderful. I think the examples really help illustrate what you mean by that, because sometimes it seems so simple, but then the examples really help illustrate it. So I want to make sure we have time for questions. So if you have a question, please feel free to put it in the Q&A section. So maybe I'll start with what, I know you said distract, but what are some other ways to get someone from repeating themselves constantly? So during the holidays, people are going to start to see their loved ones more. And what if this person keeps asking, when is dinner? When is dinner ready? When is dinner ready? How do you deal with that?
Oh, wow, that's a really good question. Right before you start pulling out your hair.
Mhm. Mhm.
Maybe even asking them, oh, are you hungry? Do you want a snack? And have something there. You know, I think it's just always having those cues if you know they're like that. And I feel like when they're like that too, they're a little agitated and they're angry, right? So you might want to say, what's going on? Maybe giving them a little bit more attention and say, so what's happening? You know, and then start talking with them a little bit and see what you can find out. It's always about investigating. But for me, that when you say that, and it was my person that was doing that, I'll say, oh, they're mad or something. I need to give them some attention and see what I can pull out.
Well, maybe if there's a way to involve them in the process, perhaps they could set the table. And it's not about setting it correctly, it's just to give them something to do, to be a part of it, right?
Yeah.
Or a simple thing like make the salad, knowing you have to toss it, so there's no way to mess it up.
Yeah.
Would something, just wondering here, would something like humor work in that kind of a question setting? You know, like I know Navajos, they have a sense of humor. You know, something like they're asking about the turkey. You know, the response could be, you know, I don't know if that would work. The turkey ran away, Dad.
Yes, humor is, I think, a great suggestion. And again, depends on your person. And as Valerie suggested, sensing if they're irritated or not. But if that has worked, by all means, try out humor because it can diffuse the situation. That
I did,
might be a good one. The
right?
cookie
That
ran
is
away.
actually. Or sometimes they'll say, I think you know, they just started or they're still trying to butcher. Like they're still trying to prepare, and then you'll usually get the eye roll on that, like, yeah, you
Mm,
know, and then that can break up the tension as
mhm.
well. But
Yeah,
I did notice, did you notice this question in the chat?
yes, go ahead.
It
Mhm.
says, my dad is fine, except he frequently doesn't recognize that he's home. He is
Mm.
bedridden, and this is the only thing that seems to set him off. But how do we prove that he is home to him? I it just I just don't he doesn't seem to process that
Mm.
he's home.
That's a common one where people at a certain point, you know, the memory of home might be from when they were, say, 10 years old, 6 years old, and the home they live in today doesn't look like that. So sometimes when people keep asking, I want to go home, or where's home, or I want to go home, and you say, you're home, this is your home, that's not getting to what they are responding to. So Valerie, earlier you had said, you know, respond to the emotion. And so thinking about, I know you really miss home, right? Responding to that emotion can be really helpful. Or what do you love about home? And maybe distract somehow or reminisce, think, you know, review photos perhaps of the people that remind him of home. Maybe it's, but you know, home signifies something in the heart is what they're getting at perhaps. It might not be the physical reality that they're asking about, and reassuring them that they're safe. But that distraction can be really helpful and reassuring. And do you have any other thoughts about that?
I was gonna say maybe they might have something that reminds them of home.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe like a teddy bear or a pillow. And I think one thought that came to me was if they would say, where's home? I would hug them and say,
Mm-hmm.
I'm right here. and give them a kiss, or grab their
Exactly.
hand and say, right here, Dad, and they just, how long would that take? And you're creating that bond again too. You're putting in that touch. And a lot of it I think is just patience, and again, just remembering. And oh my gosh, that gave me a little tear though. That's so
Yeah.
it's hard. It's a hard subject for sure. Just know that you're not alone and there's help.
Yeah, I think that's a great idea. Just give them a big hug, right? What's a faster, more reassuring way to know home is right here? Yeah. We had another question here. How would you communicate with them in regards to sundowner syndrome and about going to sleep? There's that question. Have you experienced that, helping someone go to sleep and they're confused about the time of day, whether it's night or day?
I know some tips that they've had is do not let them nap during the day because they're gearing up for the evening. So you want to make sure they have those times they're waking up, and if they do take a nap, make sure it's a little earlier in the day and don't let them nap for too long because they're gonna, you're just preparing them to be awake at night. And then I think a big one for like wandering and stuff like that, sometimes you can't help that, I think. But if you this is where you start to learn more of the tips, right? So if the door is a different color than the walls, let's say the walls are white, you need to start painting that door white so that they can't find the handle, they can't get out. So essentially you're kind of locking them in there so they don't try to take off. I know that
Mhm.
was one tip that I know of.
Yeah, and someone wrote in here, brighten the room. Like right now, if it's dark and gloomy outside, turn the lights on so they know it's daytime, and then you can dim the lights when it is actually nighttime. Um, but you're right, like having a more set routine for when they wake up, try to avoid naps, keep them busy during the day, is a good idea. And having a regular sleep hygiene of how you get ready to go to bed, have that be somewhat consistent can be helpful. Maybe some soothing music to listen to before bedtime, maybe a little hand massage before they go to bed might be a nice way to, again, encourage sleep time.
Yeah,
Mhm.
I think too is just remembering that just because they have this disease doesn't mean that they got nothing to do or they can't do anything. It's just like
Mhm.
what we said before, giving them something meaningful and something that they can handle. So you're
Mhm.
not gonna, maybe give them a knife and say, "Oh, here, do all," because they might hurt themselves. But you want to give them something easy, something that they can do. Maybe rearranging the table or whatever you can do in the house that's easy for them because they're still useful. And that's the thing. You still want to make sure that they have that quality of life. It's just certain parts of themselves that's not there.
Yeah. Well, I want to remind people that, it sounds like we've got some good experience here among our callers, but also if you have any additional questions about a specific situation, remember you can call the Alzheimer's Association helpline anytime. We have dementia experts waiting for your call, whether it's 3 in the morning or on Christmas Day, New Year's Day. We have people waiting for your call, so please don't hesitate to reach out. Valerie, thank you so much for the excellent presentation. Your examples are fantastic and your expertise is tremendous. So thank you. And thank you all for watching. And with that, I'm going to turn it back to Larry. Thanks for partnering us again, NICOA, with the Alzheimer's Association.
Thank you, Edie and Valerie. Great job. Thank you very much. And one of the things I forgot to do, and see, this is maybe a part of my getting older too, is the traditional way of introducing yourself. You go by clan, and I didn't do that. Shea Oze Ashin Tatnesana Aya Dashia Tachini Dashichedo Shea Dashanella Adia Dementia. And so those are my 4 clans that connects me to whoever's out there and not going to claim me as grandpa.
Now
But
we can
I-
ask money for you, Larry. Christmas is
And-
coming. No, I'm kidding.
So I think it was a great meeting, great conversation, and then typical as well, traditional to close off a meeting with a prayer, and I'll do that now. Alan shema shije accorded no san shema yarki shije de shingo here in nata will neto the jonico she not any carto let out clo niki hojan not any carto let niki masan he chain and then bata aiki the jonico a ban city case of a car nature a niki biki is congo a ban city case hala yo de neo that the corner the shingo it is not that we nature that the ego bear can not the cutter, but dan the cut any yataho ad what are the yakota the shingle so there's an a in on the slado. Version has in the prayer.
Thank
Thank
you
you.
so much. Thanks, everyone. Bye-bye.